Texas. I'm Allison LaForgia, and today I am sitting with Phil McCall, the President and COO of ACE's Quality Management. Phil, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
I'm happy to have you, and I want to start with a quick rundown. What are you watching most closely in servicing as we head further into 2026?
I guess I'll go two areas of, I think, heightened concern or watching areas. One, customer satisfaction. With that, I think you always look to the customer. What are their needs? What are they looking to solve? Where are their problems? How do they get answers from their servicers? And especially when things are difficult, timing gets to be a point of getting good responses. And with that, I'll add regulatory compliance. It's kind of the other side of you need to make your customers happy. There's rules, there's laws that have to be followed. And how do you meld those two together to make sure that you are meeting all the regulations? You are complying with all the governance and requirements that are placed upon all servicers. And in turn, getting happy customers. It's a challenge. There's work involved with it, and I think all servicers are working towards that piece of working those two levers to make sure they're accomplishing a really good book of business.
I could not agree with you more, and I have to ask you about servicing smarter, because I've seen this language from ACEs. So what does servicing smarter look like in practice, especially when we're in a place where volume can rise?
Yes. I mean, there's several areas it covers. I'm going to go for maybe with the end in mind. Quality control really comes into play a lot at the end, after things are done. And I think that smarter servicing is, how do we start being more proactive? How are we looking at quality on an ongoing basis? How are we standardizing our data so we can work within that data and be very proactive into our quality initiatives? You're always going to have the back end, that post-closing work, that post-servicing, all the things that happen. But I think that smarter piece is how to utilize your data, how to standardize your process, bring automation in so you can scale and become much more proactive, where let's catch those defects before they become defects so we don't have the defects in the end.
Now, Phil, you just mentioned being more proactive and less reactive. So there's some scale that comes with that. So how can servicers scale QC without adding headcount?
It's a constant problem, and it's one that we hear about all the time, is, boy, as soon as something happens, volumes go up, I got to hire. And when volumes go down, do I have to lay people off? I think it really does come to that part of automation and how you're letting systems come in and start doing work for you that enables you to be able to scale. And with it is a point of, and I will say, with all of the customers talking to me, there's never ones that are talking, how do I reduce headcount? It's all about, how do I scale and handle more with the headcount that I have? Bring in technology and automation that will help me do that. And I think that leads down that proactive piece of doing more of the process review in advance to help eliminate those tough things that happen in the end.
Now, you just mentioned automation.
Yes.
This would not be a HousingWire conversation if I didn't mention AI.
Okay.
So how does AI fit into all of this? And really importantly, how should servicers be thinking about using AI responsibly?
Yes. AI, it's out there, huh? Just a little bit of news.
Just a little bit.
You might
not
hear
headlines
about
everywhere.
No.
Definitely not in news stories every day.
It's amazing how our world has changed over the course of the last few years, and how AI has been everywhere. I will tell you how we've taken an approach on it of looking at how can we utilize AI to assist our customers be more efficient? How can we help them scale more? I'll start with a big example of comes into the large, language models. There's so much of that there can help writing. And as we rolled out our first version of AI, ACES Intelligence, it was starting with that of, well, everything with quality control comes to communication. You have exceptions that are cited. You're communicating with lines of business. People have to write back and forth. And as the employees go here, we're not a bunch of writers. We're analysts that are working through, or there are people out there doing jobs. So having something to assist in that writing, we found to be a huge win. We worked with dozens of our clients on the prototyping of this, of how we could bring AI in to help you there. We topped that next with more of an analyst piece of, you do an audit and there becomes a point of maybe you started looking at 1,000 different loans and ended up with a few hundred exceptions. There's remediation that needs to take place. How are you synthesizing that data? We have really neat AI technology that's now taking and synthesizing all that data and enabling a leader of a department to get a breakdown of everything that happened with an audit, saving 2-3 hours per audit of time of just analyzing this data, put it in a format. Now I can taper it off, get it the way I want it to be. And I'd say the final piece comes into reporting, being able to build out dynamic reports, letting AI come in and help see where you're having issues, make suggestions, recommendations on criteria of how you can build out a stronger audit base and stronger reporting to all.
You've mentioned data a couple times, and I think it's worth asking a question, clarifying what role does data play in servicing smarter? And especially as we're looking at potential volume shifts for teams.
Data is king. It always has been, and then you come into data integrity. So there's a combination here of all the servicing systems. You're importing data from multiple different systems. How do you manage that data? How do you control it? How do you standardize it? And I would say a huge piece of that is how do you enable the actual client, the servicer, to use that data? Through ACES, we have Data Bridge, and that's a bridge that we built that allows our clients to be able to gain all of their auditing data, have it put into their systems. They all have data warehouses. They want to work through that data and making that data portable. And as a SaaS provider, we do find that it does become a stop point for a lot of SaaS companies of if you get customers coming in, well, how am I going to get my data? As we built Data Bridge, it was all about that. Let's get the data in your hands so you can use it, you can do your reporting, along with our own reporting tools that we have there, but making your data portable and allowing customers to work stronger towards how do we standardize all of this data to get it working together, because with that data standardization, automation can start taking place, and you can start driving a number of functionalities through the data.
Good data in, good process, good data out.
Yes.
And ACES recently had an acquisition.
Yes, we did.
So let's talk about the acquisition following that data question and talk about how the BaseCap Analytics acquisition affects what's going on at ACES with servicers and what it means for people who are looking to scale quality.
The acquisition with BaseCap, just a few weeks old now, is very exciting.
Very exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. It really goes down the vein that we have been working towards on this proactive quality control. And with BaseCap, really built on large data sets and being able to assess and audit millions of transactions. And having that data come in and be able to assess that every day. I want to look at my whole population of servicing, and I want to check these features every day as things change. Where am I at in that workflow? Do I have defects? I'm being proactive in that spot of what I'm identifying. And even more so, I can start to build into my workflow of before it actually becomes a defect. An example, maybe I have 5 days, I have to get this notice out to the customer. Well, I got 407 of these to do, and I got 5 days to do it. Well, help me guide that workflow so I don't get to the end and go, oh, I'm going to fail on 30 of them. No, give me that information up front so I can actually be proactive. Let's don't have any defects. So what we are envisioning here is that whole marriage there with BaseCap and ACES, providing this larger population of testing, and then working with ACES and its engine now for remediation. Because once you identify these items, you now need to manage them and be able to communicate with your lines of business of how you work it. So we see it as a huge complement to what ACES already offers, and really moving towards where the servicing industry especially is going, is we need to test more and we need systems to be helping us on that testing.
So let's end with what's next for ACES. What's one takeaway you want servicers to remember heading into the rest of 2026?
I'm going to go back to where you brought up that smart servicing. I think we really need to look at the point of how we can bring in more of that data, standardize our process, bring automation and allow us to be proactive. We need to be there assessing all of our files, all of the data and work going on, knowing that we have to be compliant. We have all the state, federal regulators, we have the GSEs agencies. We've got to stay compliant, and we got to keep our customer satisfaction there and keep the customer happy. And I think balancing that and that smarter side of using your data, driving down the process is where the solve is. And I think as all of us working through as a purpose there is to make every servicer more efficient and better at what they do.
I love that. What a great note to end on. Phil, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed.